Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dropping the Gloves. It's great to be here. Tim's here. I'm here. We're both feeling good. I hope you guys are having a good night. It's Tuesday night, August 6th, Tim. Life is good, you know? We were just chatting. I was telling Tim I just had an epiphany tonight. I'm like, life is good. Could be worse, right? You gotta look at the bright side of things. I always worry and stress about money and this and that. This last 5 days with the new baby has been stressful. And I said, I need to just let the hair down a little bit. I said, I'm going to the office. I put the kids to bed. I've got my wife. She's set up with little Marie. I said, it's Marie Carmela, the name of the baby.
Marie, nice. That's a good one.
Marie Carmela. Carmela was a family name on my wife's side. She has aunts and uncles and grandparents that are Carmela, very Sicilian, Italian with a dash of Hispanic. That's her heritage. And then Marie is my wife's middle name. So we went all my wife's side this time, which is great. And of course, Catholic touch, we always do that with, I serve at Mount Carmel, Carmela, and then Marie, Mary, Mother Mary, Jesus, Mary, that sort of thing. So it works out across the board. So I just said, I'm going to the office. I grabbed a cigar. My friend gave it to me before the baby. He said, when the baby's born, smoke this cigar. And I'm not a big cigar guy, but I said, Mike, I will. And now I'm smoking my cigar. I have a nice glass of whiskey. And I pretty much just bullied Tim into getting a glass of whiskey now. So he's got his TC whiskey. I got my Crown Royal. And we're just a couple dudes hanging out. You know what I mean?
Just a couple of guys being dudes. Yeah. It's, you had a great night with the family, it sounds like. Out dinner at the in-laws. Anything interesting happened there?
Well, Tim wanted an update on chicken. And this is the funny thing with my in-laws. She has an ongoing battle with her neighbors. It's like the stereotypical, I hate my neighbors, they're out to get me, and they think, she's out to get her. So they've been going back and forth for 20, 30 years. And it all started with the neighbor built their deck too close to the house, and that was the end of it. And they never got along. And so she threw the dead chicken in my neighbor's dumpster. Not even hers. She said, I'm going to throw it in his dumpster. Meh, 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 meh. And so I had a poopy diaper. I was leaving tonight. I'm like, hey, Sue, can I put this in the freezer next to the chicken? And she goes, John, I put it in the neighbor's dumpster. And I'm like, good for you. Good.
Is that where you put
you.
the diaper too?
No, I put it in the car. It's still in the car right now. I forgot to take it out. Thank you for reminding me. It's probably going to be ripe in the morning. Have you ever known the pleasure of waking up, getting in the car in the morning, and there's a stinky poopy diaper that's been marinating on the dash all night long? Rancid.
No, I definitely haven't. I don't plan to. It sounds horrible. Sounds terrible.
We should get into your child. What are your thoughts? What's the girlfriend's thoughts on child? Have you had that conversation? Are you guys going to have babies?
We have not had that conversation. And you and I are not going to have that conversation right now. I'll tell you that.
Because that's a big one. You're not getting any younger. I would assume you want lots of kids. So maybe something you should have conversation sooner rather than later.
Not 8. I'll tell you that. Not 8 children.
8's an impressive feat.
Is it impressive? Is it impressive, or is it just something that you just continue to do?
It's something that I do. Something that I like to do. What's funny is we go to the hospital and all the nurses, they're young girls. They go, congratulations, this is your first. And this has happened, 6, 7, 8 every time. And we go, no, we got a couple. And they go, oh, how many? And the looks on their faces, Tim, it's just classic. When you go, oh, this is our 8th. They just stop whatever. 8? What? And then that's fine. That wears off. And then they go, oh, what are they boys, girls? And this is where they lose their marbles. No, they're all girls. Oh my goodness, you guys. And they call everybody in. Did you hear? It's just so funny. It's very sweet.
Yeah. But I bet you love that, right? Like, you like being the girl dad. You like saying that you have 8. It's a nice little, not the attention, but it's maybe a certain type of attention. You like the energy and the response that it gets.
No, it's the attention. Yeah. It's all about me. I actually sent a text to Mitch Album, who's writing my movie. And I said, Mitch, I have the sequel. It's fighter hockey dad who fights his whole life, now has 8 girls, and he has to transition. It does have a sitcom kind of feel to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Will I play me in the show? Or will we get like Gyllenhaal in here?
No. I like Jake Gyllenhaal. He would be good for you. That actually is a good. If you're not watching on YouTube, everybody, jump on YouTube and look at Tim right now. He looks like Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's because I took my glasses off because we don't typically record at night. This is a throwback. Usually we're like in the morning, 10, 11 a.m. And we used to have to do it after work, after the family and all that. So anyway, the lighting was off and the glare, so I took the glasses off.
I like doing it at night. I can get a little louder. I can have a little more fun. Yeah, it's just more enjoyable, more relaxed. I can smoke cigars and drink whiskey.
Plus, you don't sleep like a regular person does. So like the time of night doesn't really matter. Meanwhile, this is going to push my bedtime back. That's okay.
I was joking with my friends this week about Tim because we're talking about what time we wake up, and I'm usually like 5 to 6, that range. And we said Tim probably just wakes up whenever his body's ready to wake up because that's just a lifestyle he leads. Oh, I'm good. It's like 9:30, jumps out of bed, puts on his essential oils on his face, and he has his like shake, and he has his calming music playing in the background. He doesn't want to be stressed out at all. I just figured that's you.
You're not that far. You're not that far. My internal clock is I'm up pretty early, but I don't set an alarm. I don't have to. I can still wake up, 6:30, 7 o'clock every day. I set it if I need to wake up earlier, but that's, not far.
Much like every other thing.
AG1.
If you start it becomes a habit, then it becomes just ingrained in you. So if you get up at 6 every day for a month, it's tough. Eventually, you enjoy it.
Okay,
Life lessons from Tim.
Yeah, it's just, not bad. I like that you're talking about me, though. You're going around town saying, hey, I got 8 kids, and anything you want to talk about Tim? Yeah.
Listen, you get brought up a lot. People enjoy you. They really do. They feel some kind of camaraderie with you. I don't get it. I don't see it. I'm still talking to Jeff Merrick on the side. You don't need to know about that. But before we get into this, Tim, let's just say this episode is brought to you by Bet365. We got to do this. Very, very important stuff. They're a proud partner of Dropping the Gloves. Open an account today at Bet365 and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, everybody, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code HOCKEYCA. That's Bet365, code HOCKEYCA. Beautiful company. We thank them for all their support. We can't do this without them. Not going to smoke my cigars on magic money. You know what I mean, Tim?
I like that we're celebrating. Tab, we'll have a toast to Marie. Very excited.
Marie Carmela Scott. Yeah, she's doing great, drinking lots of milk. She's growing by the day. So it's cool to see her. She's smiling. It's just...
You want to know what's crazy? How time flies? My brother's baby is a year next month. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, little Cormac. He's huge. He's like, you were a huge baby, right?
I was as big as they come.
Yeah, he's in the 1%, and like smart and handsome. He's a great baby. Good baby.
How do you know he's smart at 1?
Well, because of like the stuff that he does, like basically from every step in terms of like grabbing things early on and walking and crawling and eye contact and all like the stuff in the first few months he's always in like the 1%. And he's very happy, and he's just a good baby.
We've had the gamut of just really bright kids and just other kids that are like, is everything working okay up there? Right? It's like, because we've had our oldest, Ava, she was talking active sentences back and forth, conversations at 1.5, 2, where we would be driving and she would say, Mom, coffee shop is right there. Popcorn, turn. And we're like, holy cow, she's like not even 2. And we've had other kids like drooling, and they're 2. They like not even a word. And we're like, we might have to see a specialist. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we're just like, when is this kid going to start talking? So yeah, for everyone out there, you can definitely tell, look into the future for kids. Like I know one's going to be a rocket scientist and the other one's, probably going to be a ditch digger. There's nothing wrong with that. It takes all kinds.
That would be a fun game to play with all your daughters. Like,
which one's the stupidest? Is that the game you want to play?
Okay, which one is most likely to be a millionaire? Which one is
all right,
most
girls,
likely...
line up. Tim's going to point at the stupid one.
Which one's most likely to live to 100? Which one's most likely to be
Not
president?
The stupid ones. Just walk right off the dock. They don't even know how to swim. Like, what do we do? Like, come on, there's no like self-preservation in them whatsoever. Guys,
which one's most like you? Who's most like you?
Most likely is probably the one I dislike the most. Is Gabriella. We butt heads quite a bit. She's the one who farted in my face the other day.
Yeah.
I'm like, Gabriella, she's identical to me, and we butt heads all the time. I seethe sometimes when I see her, but then I love her. So it's just funny. And my wife's like, it's because she's just like you. I'm like, shut up. No, it's not. I don't say that, but it's just funny. I'm like, I know. Then she farts in my mouth, and it's all good.
Which one's most like Danielle?
Ava, the oldest. That's the one I get along with the best. Isn't it funny how life works like that? It's interesting.
Yeah. Ava's
you know what else is funny? Patrik Laine. Very complicated person here. We're going to transition to hockey, should we?
Is he funny, though?
Never met him.
Yeah. Okay.
Never met. He seems like a good guy. He's Finnish? Swedish? Finnish.
Finnish.
Finns are usually pretty funny. When I came into the league, it was all Finns on my team. We had Antti Miettinen, we had Nicholas Backstrom, we had Mikko Koivu. Zero sense of humor. The Finns aren't funny. I should rephrase that. The Swedes are kind of funny. The Finns are dry as can be. Funny guys are actually the Russians. I enjoy the Russians.
Zadorov.
And, Zadorov, Grigorenko, the goalie, what was his name? Doby, Anton Hudobin. All those guys are pretty.
Were you his teammate in
Minnesota? Yeah, he came up in Minnesota. Good goalie. It's interesting. I've been under the league now for a few years, but it's funny to see young players who I'm with, and the team they start with doesn't recognize the talent, and then they move on to another team and just explode. It happened with Jake McCabe. It happened with Mark Pysyk. I was there when Matt Zuccarello was on the Black Aces squad with the Rangers, and no one saw the potential there. And then all of a sudden they get an opportunity, a new team, a new coach, a new situation. Superstars, and just a really valuable piece to teams. And I've seen it all over the place where guys, they switch places or they get an opportunity. That didn't happen to me, but then they just blow up somewhere else. So it's cool to see that that's happened. But yeah, we'll talk to Nick Foligno about that on Thursday. He's coming on the show. He's probably seen it up and down. Guy's been in the league forever. I was chatting with him today, and good dude. Going to come on Thursday night, arrange his schedule for us. So we'll talk to him on Thursday. A little bit better than Rasmus Dahlin. You ever follow up with him? What happened there?
I don't know. I'm going to follow up with all those guys. I don't want to drop. Should we drop the names of the guys who have said yes in the next week or two? Okay. The Dahlin, you said Foligno already. We have Timmy Stutzla said he would come on. Adam Fantilli said he would come on. And then
Jake Gensel's coming on.
Jake Gensel, yeah, and some other maybes. So
yep, Patrick Kane, Pavelski. We're working the phones, everybody. Bear with us. I had a little hiccup with this baby, but now I'm back at it. People love the interviews, and I'm starting to like them a little bit more. People seem to enjoy them. But anyways, back to Patrik Laine. There's been rumors swirling, Tim. He's dealing with some kind of mental issue. He was depressed, and his time in Columbus hasn't gone the way as expected. He's just struggling. Had a good start to his career in Winnipeg, got traded to Columbus. That didn't work out. He wants to change the scenery. The GM in Columbus is actively trying to find a partner to trade Patrik Laine too, but it's a difficult situation. If you're a new GM in Columbus, you have this pseudo superstar. The guy has done it. He's done it well, but he's also just not shown up for months at a time. And now he has this mental depression issue. I don't know really what's going on. I'm not going to get into it, but there's something going on there. And now he's asked for a trade. How do you maximize value on a guy like that? Because other GMs want to buy low because they see the potential. They see what he could be, what he has been. So they're going, okay, we'll take him for a fifth rounder, and we'll take his whole contract. But the Columbus GM is thinking, this guy could score 50 goals next year if he's motivated and he's healthy. That's the type of ceiling that he has. Superstar ceiling. But the floor, it's a floor. It's a floor, Tim. Like a very low floor. So how do you deal with that? If you're a GM for Columbus, what do you do, Tim? What would you do?
This is tough. I'm actually going through this right now because Thursday is the trade deadline for my fantasy baseball league. So it's all about buying low, selling high. We got keepers. You're investing in players over multiple years. So I think I can speak from experience here in saying that you have to. I don't know what's so funny. I don't know what you're laughing at.
Your fantasy baseball league. Listen to you. I'm going to talk from experience here, everybody. Listen up.
Step Brothers. I manage a baseball team, Little League thefantasy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to answer your question, you try to get as much as you can, obviously, and I think you have to sell the point. Like he could definitely score 40, 50 goals next season if he's healthy, motivated, in the right situation. He has that talent. He has one of the best shots in the league. He's still young. He scored 42, 44 goals. His second year, 36, then 44. Like he's an elite goal scorer. lot of things haven't worked out, and a lot of it's not under his control. His the chemistry around him, the talent around him, the health, and all that stuff. So if you're the new Columbus GM, you're shooting for the moon, but you have to understand that most teams are going to want to buy him at a discount, which is like what Bill Guerin's trying to do right now in Minnesota.
Yeah, so Billy Guerin has started to kick the tires on a Patrik Laine, and he should. I said it earlier this off season when people were first starting to talk about where would Patrik Laine go. Everyone was, bandering out teams who had a lot of salary cap, younger teams, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, the Chicago Blackhawks, the San Jose Sharks. No. That's a terrible idea for a guy like Patrik Laine and for young players like Macklin Calabrini and Connor Bedard and these types of Zegras, everybody. And I don't want to dog a guy when he's down, but just based on his track record, he is not a good veteran to have around young guys. I'm guessing he isn't the first guy in the weight room, the first guy on the ice. He seems like a more casual player where he shows up, his natural talent shows through, and he's just able to score because that's just who he is. I don't want that type of work ethic to rub off on my young guys. I was talking about veteran teams who could hone him, who could just put him in a spot, don't let him get too sideways, who could just protect him in a shell, put him on the power play, put him on a third line, second line, and that'll be his sweet spot. He'll score 40 goals, half of them will be on the power play, and you'll be successful. Rightfully so, Billy Guerin listens to the podcast and he says, "Oh, John, it's a good idea. It's a very good idea. I have a very good team. We have zero salary cap. I have an elite goal scorer and an elite setup guy, and that's about it. I need some more high-end talent to round out this team to get me to next year and years going forward where I have some money to spend." So he has been linked to Patrik Laine now, and now he's kicking the tires on this guy, and he's reaching out to Columbus. He says, "I'm going to do whatever I can to get," he didn't say this, but I'm guessing this is what he's thinking. "I'm going to do whatever I can to get this guy in Minnesota." Because can you imagine a first line with Kirill Kaprizov, Marco Rossi, and Patrik Laine? That's a pretty impressive line. Then you bump Zuccarello down to the second line. All of a sudden, you got Matt Boldy, Matt Zuccarello, and Joel Eriksson-Ek. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch for a Minnesota team that was really top-heavy for the last 2 or 3 years, when you would load up with Zuccarello and Kaprizov and whoever we could throw in the center position. The addition of Marco Rossi, the young kid, he has really played well and bumped up that first line and got rid of Ryan Hartman. Ryan Hartman's been relegated to the third and fourth line ever since they found some decent centermen to play with those two kids, those two stars on the side, I mean. But with Laine, Tim, it transitions this whole team. It just makes them that much more deeper. Kirill Kaprizov all of a sudden has a little bit more room on the power play in the first line. Teams aren't keying on him as much with the threat of a Patrik Laine, who is a 6'4" absolute horse when he wants to be. Right? When he wants to be, he has one of the best shots releases in the NHL. And if you can put him in a position to succeed, why not? And you can get him on pennies on the dollar. So answer this question, Jim. What will it take for Billy Guerin to get Laine out of Columbus? Because Laine makes what, $8-ish million? I don't have it in front of me. It's a big number. What is it going to take to get him from Columbus? Does he have to retain the whole contract?
Well, it's hard to say, and I've been trying to do some research early in the day on this, and there's a lot of rumors about him being moved, but not what for. That's been harder to find. And so I think I did read that the Blue Jackets don't want to retain 50% of his contract. So that's going to hurt their ability to shop him. They're going to have to find a suitor who's going to willing to take most or all of it. But I feel like it's going to be less than you think. Like a lot of these guys that you feel like are going to go for a lot of money or a big prospect, first round pick, and it ends up being like a minor league defenseman and a third round pick or something, and maybe a little bit of cap space to make it work. So I don't know to use your answer, but they do need to, Minnesota could do something. And this is a good opportunity to go get a real goal scorer because you're so reliant on one player. And like Eriksson-Ek had a great great season last year. Boldy, Zuccarello, Rossi, all those guys are great, like you mentioned. But Kaprizov has 30 points more than the next guy in the line and 15 more goals. They rely on him quite heavily. So if Laine could come in and fit in that lineup and offset that and put in even 30 goals, right? 25, 30 goals and just solidify that top six, it makes the Minnesota Wild a much deeper and more formidable team.
If you're Billy Guerin, do you trade Jared Spurgeon for Patrik Laine? Jared Spurgeon, 34 years old, injury history, really in and out of the lineup.
He's the captain.
But he's a captain, a great player. He makes 7.57. Laine makes 8.7. You have to move some money to make this work. If Columbus just said, okay, we'll do it. We'll take Jared Spurgeon for Patrik Laine. Do you make that deal?
No, I don't think so.
You got Brock Faber. You got Jonas Brodin. You got Jacob Middleton. You have some good young defense. You have guys to fill that spot, and Jared Spurgeon injured him. When he's on, he's on. One of the best in the league. But when he's hurt, he's useless.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I do. I feel like he's just such an important player for them. I'd want something more secure, more of a sure thing if I was going to get rid of Spurgeon for him. And I don't know that Laine is that. He's still definitely a pick. He's a bet.
Yeah, I do that.
I don't know. You would?
Yeah, I think they already handed the reins off to Brock Faber last year. The kid was playing 25 minutes plus a game.
Yeah,
and he didn't even sweat. It was easy work for him. That's the type of player that he is. He reminds me of a Duncan Keith, where it's effortless. I would play with Dunks. He would play 35 minutes. I would play like 7. I'd be gassed, like just dripping sweat. It was just exhausting mentally and physically, and Dunks would go and ride the bike for 20 minutes and be totally fine. Like there's just some guys who just know how to play a lot of minutes. And Brock Faber seems to me to be one of those guys who can just munch minutes, hard minutes too, where guys are targeting him, and he just seems to shrug it off and just go on his way. Mind you, Duncan had a mean streak, and people stayed away from him. But Brock Faber, I think he can eat those minutes. He's only 21. Like I would do that in a heartbeat if I'm Billy Guerin. He has to do some cap gymnastics if he wants to make this happen. But perfect landing place for Patrik Laine. I think this couldn't be a better situation for him.
Let me read what Mike Rupp said about this, because he was asked about this in one of the shows that he's on. He said, quote, "The problem I have with Laine is it depends on what kind of team you are. Everything that Minnesota has established themselves to be as far as their identity, working hard and lunch pail, he's not that. The thing that's kept Minnesota competitive is everyone's kind of pulling the same way, and there's no freelancers. I think he would be a freelancer. It could work, but it could be really bad too."
I love Rupper. I don't agree with his evaluation of Minnesota. I don't think they're a hard-working lunch pail team. They have aspects of that. Their 2 best players are 2 of the biggest freelancers in the game. Zooks is so creative. He just goes off on his own and creates offense anytime he's on the ice, and Kirill Kaprizov is the same way. So I feel like Mike Rupp is speaking to the team 10 years ago when it was very structured. A very structured system. We're going to play the 1-3-1. We're going to trap it up. We're going to, be defense, and then maybe create some offense. The Minnesota Wild, I don't feel like is that team. I think they've slowly transitioned into this new era of hockey as we want defense in the rush. We want free-flowing offense. And they just haven't had the guys to take advantage of that. But when you look at their lineup, I don't see them being a structured team when you got Johansson and Matt Boldy and Rossi and Kaprizov and Zuccarello. That's a pretty offensive-minded first 2 lines that doesn't scream structure. Yeah, the 3rd and 4th line, Foligno and Hartman and those guys, they're lunch pail type guys, but I don't know. Rupper played for Minnesota. He's probably thinking back of his time there, but I do feel like the Wild have shifted their identity just a tad to keep up with the division, to keep up with the Colorados and the Chicagos and all those teams that just really are so creative and were successful doing it. So I don't know. I think he's missed the mark a little bit there. But yeah, Laine going anywhere is going to take a little bit of just molding and kid gloves to make sure he's okay and he fits into the system and everything's working out okay, because he has proven everywhere he's gone, it's not a great fit. And it's an interesting problem to have with such a talented guy who doesn't fit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point about not bringing him to a young team, because you don't want him to be one of the veterans. You want him to follow under other veterans. And this isn't the year for it, but another year, 3-4 years ago, maybe Boston would have been a good fit. They brought in a lot of guys that they said, hey, you come play under Bergeron and Marchand and Chara at the time, like you're gonna learn some responsibility and culture and all that stuff, and they're really good influence. Pittsburgh, maybe the same thing. We've seen other guys just flourish playing with Crosby and Malkin, even at this age. So one of those types of teams. But Yeah, I hope he gets moved soon. I hope it's somewhere fun, and we'll have to analyze that when it happens.
It would be nice, and Minnesota is a good spot if they can make it work, because next year they free up $15 million in cap space
Without losing any players.
without losing any. And isn't that something? The way the buyouts work, $15 million.
And just say they probably get another $5 million in cap space too when it goes up.
Yeah, they lose a bunch of players who are UFAs, and all of a sudden Billy Guerin's going to wake up. He's got Kaprizov, Boldy, Eriksson, Zuccarello, Foligno, Hartman, Trennan, Frederick Gaudreau. He's got Boldy, Spurgeon, Brodin all locked up. And he's got Laine potentially. Oh, and I still have $15 million to spend.
Pretty good.
This team could be good. This team could be good in a couple years. But yeah, stay on this one, Tim, because I'm interested to see where this guy goes. All right, moving on, Tim. What are we talking about next?
I thought it would be fun to look around the league at the teams that don't have captains and figure out who our pick should be for the next captain. There's not that many. There's only 7. Some of these have only been a year or two. Some of these have been quite a while. So like Tampa Bay, for example, hasn't had no captain for about 4 weeks now. Utah hasn't had a captain in a while. Anaheim hasn't had a captain in a while. So anyway, so I thought it'd be fun to go down this list and make our picks here.
This is fun. I like this. Isn't it weird? When I played, nobody had a lack of a captain. Everybody had a captain. This is a new trend that I don't necessarily agree with. What are your thoughts on the no captain? We're all leaders. We can all wear the C. We all speak as a team. There's no one voice greater than the team. Do you like this idea, or do you like that one guy is the captain? He's the leader. We're going to look to him.
I like the captain. Like if you trade your captain at the deadline, like you can go the rest of the season without it, right? Or like, someone retires and you go 1 year with it while you figure out who's going to take the reins. But yeah, these multiple years of Utah. I don't know who their last captain was, but
Shane Doan probably, for Pete's sake. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Is it insulting to the players?
Some of them, maybe. Some of them, maybe.
Absolutely.
Maybe Keller thinks he should have gotten it last year or 2 years ago, And so, yeah, some of them.
And then it's a big dig. Like you would think there's a guy in this locker room who has the intangibles to be a captain, and then all of a sudden the coach and GM and president. No, I don't think so. Maybe
a good
next year
would be Couturier in Philly. Shouldn't he have got it like 2 years ago? Right?
Not according to Torts. Torts was pissed when he got the captaincy.
Yeah.
Imagine. There's just some things where I just shake my head. I played pro for over a decade. And then you put yourself in someone else's shoes. He gets named captain. Your head coach said, "I didn't agree with this decision." Your head coach. I wasn't a part of this.
I saw a video today. I want to say it was Cam and Strick. The podcast had Jimmy Howard on.
What are you listening to Cam and Strick for?
I see them on the feed. He said Babcock didn't vote for him for Rookie of the Year when he was a finalist. His own coach didn't vote for him. Isn't that crazy?
I like that. Why is that crazy? I think that shows non-favoritism, and it's like, okay, I'm going to pick who won Rookie of the Year that year, did they say?
I don't know. I just saw the headline real quick. I can look it up.
That's just Jimmy Howard being a baby. You weren't the Rookie of the Year. Someone else was, and your coach knew it. So, I don't know. People are just too soft sometimes. But yeah, let's get into it, Tim, because there's a lot of teams. And here, can we just state the obvious before we get into this? The teams that don't have captains have something in common. They're all bad teams, except for the Tampa Bay Lightning, because Steven Stamkos was just let go in free agency. Is this, two things correlation? One and the other. Bad teams can't figure out a captain. I'm just saying.
Or are they captains because they don't have captains because they're bad teams? Like it's a little bit of both. But
chicken or the egg?
Yeah. Let's go down the list alphabetically here. Anaheim. The names probably in contention is looking at their roster are Cam Fowler, Troy Terry, and I would throw in Alex Killorn would be a potential too, assuming they don't go with one of the super young kids. If they had to name a captain before the season started, because they probably won't, and they'll probably wait a year or two and give it to McTavish or Carlson, one of those guys, whoever steps up. But if you had to name a captain this summer, who would it be?
I'm going to go right now and say Leo Carlson.
Already?
Second year in the league. He had a decent first year. Didn't, win any scoring championships by any means. But when you look at this lineup, who stands out? Troy Terry, maybe. He doesn't really exemplify leadership. Trevor Zegras, he'll be gone before his contract's up. And then it's just nobody. Alex Killorn is a washed-up guy from Tampa Bay who just took the paycheck. You know, there's no one on the back end who screams, I'm going to be here for 10, 20 years, follow me into the battle. Obviously, Isaac Lundstrom, he was one of my favorites, but he's fallen off a little bit. Injury issues, but he might be back. But I think it's Leo Carlsson. I think you have to look to the future. This guy was your number 2 overall pick last year. You have to get behind him. He's a good player. Just give him the C and see where it goes, man. I think him, Cutter Gauthier is not there yet. He hasn't even played a game, I think. So it's Leo Carlsson.
Yeah, well, for the record, Brian Dumoulin is 6'4". Ross Johnston is 6'5". I think we need to factor that in. But Johnston's not even a full-time NHLer. Dumoulin's obviously moved to them. But I would go with Cam Fowler. He's been there, I think, the longest on the team since 2010, something like that.
He's been there a long time, yeah.
Yeah, he's 32 years old. He's been there forever. He has been quietly good. He's not put up the points we thought he was going to put up coming into the league, but his contract's up in 2 years, which is also perfect. Like, give him he's a bridge captain, and then in 2 years you give it to one of those guys. Maybe it's Carlson or one of the others. But if I was naming a captain this summer, in August, it would be Cam Fowler.
But listen, if he's been there for so long, you would have done it already. Padford Beek knows his hockey
Perry,
team.
like,
yeah, I know, but
I don't know.
And here's where I don't want to insult people. I don't. Does Cam Fowler scream like, I'm going to follow I will go through a brick wall for Cam Fowler?
I probably not, but there were a lot of guys that surprised me until I read more about them, like Anders Lee. I was like, really? And Boone Jenner, really? And who's the guy in
Boone Jenner surprised you as far as like work ethic and really? Boone is salt of the earth.
Not anymore, but he wasn't like a player. I knew his name and nothing more, you know? And who's in Calgary? Who's their captain? It's Backlund. You know what I mean? Like, does he scream that? Maybe if you're in the room. So I don't know. I think Cam Fowler's, you can't go wrong.
Or even an Adam Lowry in Winnipeg. Those types of deals.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know. I think you go young, you embrace the rebuild, and you go with the guy who you think is going to be the future of this team, Leo Carlsson. Center, number 2 overall pick, 6'3". He ain't small. You know, what did I set the bar at? 6'5"? So I'll lower it for him a little bit. 6'4".
Yeah.
You know, I'll give him an inch. I'll call him 6'4" and call it a day. He's still growing. He's only 19. But yeah, that would be a tall task for him. No pun intended, because he's 19. But that's what's happening. That's the going trend these days. You invest heavily in these guys. You give them the 7-year deal. Hope for the best. This is your horse, baby. Lead us to the championship, Leo. That's my pick. We'll see. We should mark these down because they won't have a captain this year. So this will be a next year. Does it come to fruition? Yeah,
and next year my pick would change. But yeah. Okay, let's go to Buffalo. This is the fun one. Dahlin is an obvious pick. Tage Thompson is in the conversation. Alex Tuch is in the conversation. And we're going to do this for every team. They have a 3-way tie for the tallest, at least according to NHL.com. Tage, Jordan Greenway, and Owen Power are all listed at 6'6". I think that's very important to keep in mind. Who's your pick?
I feel like Joe Rogan with the cigar.
I tell you what, I'm about to refill this whiskey.
I already did.
And I'm not a whiskey guy. This is bourbon. I hardly ever drink it, but it's nice right now.
I listen to country music. I'm in the car when I drive. And Morgan Wallen, I like Morgan Wallen. And I listen to, he has a song, Whiskey Glasses. And one of the parts of the song is line 'em up, line 'em up, line 'em up, line 'em up, knock 'em back, knock 'em back. All of a sudden, one of my daughters like, hey, Dad, play the song that goes knock 'em back, knock 'em back. I'm like, we're not listening to music anymore in the car. Not doing it. So I'm just like, man, I got to be careful what I listen to around these girls. It's not a bad song, but I don't want my kids on the playground going, line 'em up, line 'em up, line 'em up, line 'em up, knock 'em back, fill 'em up, fill 'em up. I'm just like, okay, let's just, holy macaroni. But yeah, back to Buffalo. I said it 2 years ago, before Tage hit the scene. I was in on Tage before Tage became a thing. Can we just get that out of the way? It's Tage Thompson. He should have never given it to Okposo. It's Tage Thompson. It's Tage Thompson's team. If he goes, the Sabres will be good. If he doesn't go, the Sabres will be garbage. It's not Dahlin. It's not Power. As good as those guys are, as important they are to the team. And I'll say this to Dahlin's face when he's on the show. It's Tage Thompson's team. That's my pick. Who do you think, Tim?
Well, so I threw this question on social media earlier today, and Dahlin was the most common pick. And I was looking for images of the players for the post, and you see Dahlin with an A, you see Tuck with an A. I would throw Dylan Cousins as well in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He's an outside pick, but he'd be considered.
The workhorse from Whitehorse.
Yes, that's right. But Thompson didn't have an A on like hardly any of his pictures. I don't think he wears it that much. I don't think he's that much of a leader. I think he's just
he
a
wants
goal
to see
scorer.
it. He said, I'm not taking a crappy A. I want to see.
It's Dahlin. It's Dahlin. It's Dahlin now. It's Dahlin in the future. He's the guy. It has to be.
I love Buffalo. I really do. I need to go back there more. They always, not always. I love their alumni guy, Scott McMango. He knows my deal where I don't go places unless I have a bundle deal and you can pay me a decent amount of money. And so he'll come to me once a year. He's like, Johnny, I got something for you. Come to Buffalo. You do 4 events, 3 nights, $7,000. What do you think? I go, that's a lot of money, Scott. That's a lot of money. Let me run it by the wife. And as soon as I bridge to my wife, how many nights? No, not doing it. And I have to just go back to Scott. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I want to, but I can't. And he's such a gem. He's such a gem. But I love Buffalo. They need to switch it up this year, and they got to give Tage a C. I think Tage, you think Dahlin. I think they'd both be good picks, but they have to give someone the C. All right, moving on. Who's next?
Chicago. This is one you can speak to. You're obviously close to this team. I would say there's not a lot of obvious picks here. Bedard, clearly, right? He's the Ovechkin, Crosby, Stamkos level. Other considerations would be Seth Jones. He's just the number 1 defenseman. He's been there a while. He's pretty tall. And then Foligno would be a fun outside pick as again a bridge guy, a year, 2 years. He's your Okposo. That's just like a culture builder. Except he's a top 6 player in this lineup, and he'd be a great captain. He's been a captain before. And then the tallest guy on this roster is Vlasic. He's 6'6". He's a tall boy. Who's your pick here? You're the expert on the Blackhawks on this show.
I tell you what, on NBC last year, Alex Vlasic was my man crush. I like Alex Vlasic. I think he's a good defenseman. He will be a solid part of this Hawks team for the next 10 years. I truly believe that. He's a good defenseman. But it's Bedard, right? It's him. It's his. That's why they didn't have a C last year. If I was Kyle Davidson, I would have given it to Foligno last year. I would have had Foligno wear the C this year. Then I would have given it to Bedard next year. So I don't know what the time frame is, what their idea is for Bedard. You can't just throw the C on him right away coming into the league. That's impossible. He already has a mountain of pressure and media on him. You can't just give that to him too. Oh yeah, here you go again. But it's Bedard's team. I don't see any other way around it. He is the Johnny Taves of this generation. Give him the C. There's nobody else. So you have to say Connor, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I think Bedard. I mean, Foligno would be a lot of fun. He'd be the only one I consider, but it's Bedard. You give it to Bedard now, and this is his team forever.
And Foligno was the pseudo captain last year. Whenever they lost, which was a lot, unfortunately, every interview, every press conference, he was the guy who stood up and called people to the table and said, "We were not good enough. This guy wasn't good. I wasn't good. It's embarrassing. We should, go back and work on things. We're not a good team." He was the guy who held them to the fire. And that's what he was brought in for. He was a veteran guy. He got overpaid a little bit, and he did his job exceptionally. So he should have worn the C the whole time. He should wear it this year, but they're just saving it for Bedard. Maybe they'll give it to him this year. I don't think they will. Next year, he'll get the C. They'll have a bunch of A's this year. But in the locker room, on the ice, everywhere else, everybody knows this is Foligno's team. He's the guy. But Bedard is the captain in the wings. So
I like it. I agree. How's the cigar?
It's almost gone. This was a 7-incher, 8-incher. It's almost gone. I don't smoke cigars very often. I got a funny story. I was in California. We were doing some NHLPA meetings and stuff, and we were in what's the famous golf course in California? It's Palm Beach, or what's it? Dang it. I'm drawing a blank. It's on the ocean in California. They do all the major PGA tours there.
I don't know.
So I'm playing Spyglass, which is the sister course to the course out in California. Everybody listening screaming at their phone or their computer like, "You idiot, it's this one." So I'm playing Spyglass, which is a very prestigious golf course. Somebody before the round gives me a cigar, and he goes, "Careful, careful." You know, and I said, "I don't smoke cigars very often." He's like, "Just take it easy." So we're having fun. I'm playing with a bunch of dudes like Clutterbuck, and I think Johnny T was playing. And we go hole 3, 4, 5. I'm drinking beers. By hole 12, I pulled the cigar out at hole 10. It took me 2 holes to smoke half of it. Knocked me out. I had to sit in the cart, Tim, for 3 holes and not play a shot because the cigar killed me. I don't know what was in it, if it was laced with something, and I just, like, I couldn't move. I'm like, I'm done. I am absolutely TKO'd because of this cigar. I didn't know cigars had that capability. I thought they were just light them up, puff, blow. They don't affect you at all. This cigar changed my idea on cigars whatsoever. So yeah, this is good for me smoking this fast. But I was one of the most prestigious golf courses in the world, and I'm like KO'd in the golf course. I'm just like, I'm not playing this hole. Sorry, or the next one, or the next one. So I
you gotta find out what that was.
What the cigar was?
Yeah.
Oh man, it was a strong one. Even the guy who gave it to me, he's like, "Just be careful." I'm like, bro, 6'8", I'm a tough fighter. Get out, kick rocks, man. He was right. He was right. Absolutely right. And I was paying for it. I felt so bad. I rallied because we were coming into the clubhouse. I played 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, or 15. The last 4 holes. Be careful. Be careful. This is a very mild one from a cigar shop in town called Nolan. So it's not bad, but it's still nice. And very I just had a baby. Can everybody get off my back? I just had a baby. Back? It feels like the world. It feels like everybody all the time. All right, moving on to the Seattle Kraken. Coming out of the gate hot, expansion team. Had a different route than the Vegas Golden Knights as far as how to build your team. Vegas Golden Knights, I think, caught everyone off guard and really just took advantage of most GMs. They had maybe backdoor deals, and all of a sudden Kelly McCrimmon was like, man, not going to do it, and just plucked good players from a lot of different teams. So coming into Seattle, GMs more savvy. They traded players. They made their rosters really, really set for the expansion draft where they could protect guys. The only people they leave exposed are players you wouldn't really want. So Seattle didn't have the pick of the litter. They had to pick whoever they could. So not a great team coming out of the gate, but they surprised people. They made a good run their first year. Second year, not so great. Last year, terrible. They've been in the league 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So last year, not great. The one shining star for them, I would say, is Matty Beniers. Came out of the gate really, really good. Did he win the Calder?
He did. Matty Beniers did win the Calder.
Matty Beniers sounds so much more sexy.
Sounds like a medication.
Sounds like
take your beignet.
Yeah, a beignet is a French treat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, spelled differently, but yeah.
Beignet.
Very good, John.
He would be the guy that I would think they would want to pick as a team. But in my eyes, in my heart, it's Jordan Eberle. Disrespected throughout it. Not disrespected, but maybe looked past. Always the fall guy on teams when things don't go well. Oh, who didn't perform? Who can we get rid of? It's Jordan Eberle. Let's get rid of him. He's an easy guy to move on. He's not the star. He's not, a guy we're going to build around. He is not so quietly, maybe it has been quietly, put together a really solid career. Produces wherever he goes. Doesn't really cause trouble. Very well respected everywhere he goes. The players love him. If I'm Seattle, I'm giving it to Jordan Eberle. I think he deserves it. I think he earns it. I think the guys in the locker room really like it. He's well respected, and he still produces, Tim. So if I'm Ronnie Francis, which I'm not, I'd give it to Eberle. That would go over like gangbusters for everybody in the league. They go, Ronnie, yeah, Jordan Eberle. What do you think? Who should they give it to, Tim?
I like that. I was between him and Beniers, and Eberle. By the way, Eberle, one of the most beautiful goals in his first career goal. Go look it up if you don't know it. Back in the Oilers days, I don't know if it was his debut game, but I think it was his first goal. Yeah, I kind of another name that I thought when he came in was going to be like a 30, 40 goal point per game player, and he wasn't quite that. He was always a second tier guy, but very reliable, no nonsense, like you said. No drama. Like he was just always just good and quietly producing on some teams that weren't always great either. So yeah, I like that pick. You convinced me. I was going to go with Beniers, but I'm going to go with Eberle.
You can lock him in for 20, 30 goals. Like, he's just that guy. I think this year it was a down year. I don't know if he was injured or not, but he still was getting 20 goals. And I just think he's good. Jared McCann's been played pretty well in Seattle, but I don't know. I just like Jordan Eberle. Was he in he was with the Islanders. He was Edmonton. He's been bounced around quite a bit. Landed in Seattle in the expansion draft. I don't think it's a bad pick.
We need to at least mention Alexiak is 6'7", just if that factors in at all.
Alexiak reminds me of Hal Gill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Tries to play that role. I trained with Hal Gill for a couple days in Boston. Hal Gill is a nice human being.
He was going to come on the show years ago and fell through for some reason.
I didn't want to talk to him. Hal Gill is a nice human being. No one was afraid of Hal Gill. Nobody. He had no skill in fighting. Like, people make fun of Tyler Myers because he's tall and doesn't hit and this and that. He's like, oh, Tyler, you got to use your... Hal, at least Tyler knows it, right? He doesn't pretend that he's a tough guy. Hal Gill tried to play the role. And he just had no business. It was just comical.
This is absolutely comical. Heavies, though?
Huh?
He fought some heavies, right? Like he
got beat up all the time.
Yeah. You know, we used to call him because he was on the Bruins. And back when I was a kid, like high school, middle school, whatever, but it was Stand Still, Hal Gill.
Yeah, no skill Gill.
No skill. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing is he signed a huge ticket. He made a ton of money, and he was aware of his shortcomings. He knew he sucked, but he played his role right. He was a 5'6" defenseman, but yeah, he reminds me of Jamie Alexiak, where Alexiak thinks he's tough, but he's not. And I'm just burning bridges here. It's not a good podcast so far. Like, this is where I get in trouble, where I just like, you listen to the other shows, they don't make fun of anybody, really. And I don't listen to them, but they don't, because they know who butters their bread. This is where I get in trouble.
Let's move on to Tampa. To me, this is the easiest one. The only names you could probably consider are Hedman, Point, and Kucherov. I'm just going to say it's Hedman. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He's also the tallest, but this is very similar to Bergeron Char, where if Stamkos wasn't there, Hedman could have been the captain 5 years ago. I think this is a no-brainer. What do you think?
I don't know.
Don't
I think I think Braden Point is in the conversation. I really do. I think they'll give it to Hedman. But if I'm a fly on that wall in that room, I think Braden Point would get a lot of votes for captaincy. I just think the guys respect him. I really do. He steps up in big moments. Not that Hedman doesn't. They're both great choices. So
it's Hedman.
It is Hedman. I know it is. It's not Kucherov. We both know that. Like, he's just the guns. He doesn't want it. He wants to drink his Bud Lights and score goals and have fun. Like, that's all he wants to do, and he's doing it well. So
him and Panarin, just like, let me just do the thing I'm good at, and don't make me do anything else.
Even Pasta, those three guys, we just want to have fun and score goals and play hockey. That's it. Leave us alone. That's all we want to do. So you got to commend him for it. But yeah, what a luxury to have if I'm Julien BriseBois. You lose arguably one of the greatest captains in the history of the game at Steven Stamkos, unceremoniously just throw him on his way. How are we going to manage this team? You have two stud guys to choose from. Your leadership group is rock solid. Rock solid. The culture of that team is unflappable. Even losing Steven Stamkos, all the drama, even losing Ryan McDonough when he didn't know he was going to be traded, nothing phases this team. You got to commend it to them. They have a great, great system going in Tampa Bay, but I agree. It's going to be Hedman. But I want Point to get. It's going to get my tall thing, but Hedman did that stupid metaverse junk where he came on the show. That really irked me a little bit.
I think it's because he made fun of you. Remember that?
Mm-mm.
When you were asking him about a game where you challenged him to fight, but it was like a specific situation. Maybe he fought someone else, or you fought one of their guys, and he was like, "Hedman, I wanted to fight you. You wouldn't fight me." And he was like, "Hey, Johnny, I think you scored in that game, right?"
I remember that. Yeah. I blocked out the bad.
Yeah. It was not the greatest interview, but
all right, let's move on here to Utah. Tim, the last one, formerly Arizona Coyotes. Who do you got in Utah?
Yeah, I think this is a similar thing where there's really only one player that I would consider it's Clayton Keller, or maybe they don't give it to anyone. There's no one else in this lineup. Maybe Sean Dursey, but no, it's Clayton Keller. Nick Bukestad's the tallest guy. 6'6". Didn't know he was that tall. I don't know if he's really that tall.
He is. He's a tall dude.
It's Clayton Keller, though.
Listen, Nick Bukestad's one of the most underrated, talented guys in the league. I skated with him in the summer. Guy's got hands on him. He really is good. But yeah, it's Keller. Do you think he gets it though? Because it's been how many years and he's been there, and they haven't given it to him. He's consistently getting 70, 80 points. He's a solid player. Maybe Logan Cooley, they like what he's doing. He had a good rookie year. He's coming into his own. I don't know.
Keller. It's Keller. He's still only like 27. Like he's about to be in his prime.
They just get the perfect timing. Sergachev?
The new location, you gave it to Keller. You got the C on the Utah jersey. Absolutely.
I agree. But the question is, do they give it to him?
I hope so. But yes, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes.
Of these 6 teams that we just went over, opening night, which ones do not have a captain opening night?
Anaheim, Seattle. I'm going to say that the rest do. I think Dahlin, Bedard, Hedman, and Keller all get it. Did I miss any?
No, that's good. 4 get it, 2 don't. I think they'll wait a year with Bedard, but I agree with the other ones. I think they'll go 3-3. But I do think it'll be, well, I want it to be Tage. But yeah, it'll be Dahlin. I should call Adam, see what he's doing there in Buffalo. All right, we did it, Tim. I like that.
Let's wrap up with a quick, fun little game that we did this once before, and I think we'll make it a recurring segment every few months. The name game. John is famously bad with last names. And if you don't know, we did this once where I
got a funny story, Tim. I don't want to cut you off. So I had the electric company to do the house where I had to bury a wire to the new property. So they took it from a pole at my existing house. It's on. I don't want to brag. I own like 25, 30 acres. So the house I'm on now is a power pole. And so they dug a power cord to my new home. The driver of the power company truck came in. They butchered my driveway. The truck fell on its side. It was a disaster. So they have to fix my driveway. My buddy works for the company. He says, call Jeff. He'll set you up. He'll make sure your driveway gets fixed. So I called Jeff. This is how bad I am at names. My kids are in the car. I go, I think his name is Jeff. I look at my phone. It's Jeff. It's Jeff. I call him. He answers, and I go, is Jeff there? And he goes, yeah, this is Jeff. I go, oh, sounds good. Hey, Jim. So I was, and my kids started dying laughing in the back. I'm like, what are they goofing around back then? I called him Jim for the rest of the call. And I just said Jeff like 4 times before, and I called this guy Jim the rest of the call. I hang up the phone. I go, all right, Jim, sounds good. Thanks for everything. Hang up the phone. My kid's like, you called him Jim the whole call, but his name is Jeff. I can't believe you did that. And I was completely oblivious to the whole thing. So I am terrible with names.
Which is what makes this game so fun. So I have 10 names here, and I'm going to read you their last names and their team, and you have to try to guess what their first name is, which I think is what we did last time.
I did well in this last time. I did.
You did. You got like 8.5 or something. We gave you half point.
8.5. I pronounced it wrong?
Yeah, it was something that was very, very close, so I gave it to you.
What was your GPA in college?
In college, it was okay, like 3.2 or something. High school, it was like 3.9. I was such a nerd.
Cool.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to get progressively more difficult. We'll start at the top, and they're all pretty much star players. Gord, Seattle.
Yanni.
Nietzsche's, Carolina.
Martin. I'm going to nail this. I'm going to go 100%.
Provorov, Columbus.
Ivan.
Nice. Mangiapane, Washington.
What's that?
Mangiapane, Washington.
Oh, Andrew.
All right. I said this last time, too. I'm like, I got to make it more hard, and then I didn't.
You're picking superstars.
Huh? No, LA Kings.
Philly.
Stankoven, Dallas.
Oh, shoot. Stankoven. I don't know it. Yvonne.
Logan Stankoven.
Dang it.
Pionk, Winnipeg.
Adam.
Neil. Told you they get a little bit more challenging. Kyrou, St. Louis.
Jordan.
Yep. Batherson, Ottawa.
Drake.
Yes. All right, one more, and then there's a bonus one. Georgiev, Colorado.
Oh, crap. Sergey.
Alexander.
I just took a Russian name.
Yeah, and the last one here is the bonus. This is tricky. Portois, Boston.
Oh, I know how to spell the name. It's Portois.
Trais. So no, you don't. But yeah.
Oh, Portois. It's
the young star, the next Bergeron.
Paul.
Matthew.
Damn it. I didn't know that. I didn't know.
So I think it will give you a 7 out of 11, something like that. That's not bad.
I was hot at the beginning. That's a fun game. You might be onto something with a board game or something. You know what's funny? When you were a kid, you would have aced all these, right?
Yeah, with the cards and stuff and fantasy.
Everything. I knew all 700 players, all their stats. It was amazing how much you know as a kid. So people listening, all the kids listening are probably just screaming, "You idiot, and you have your own podcast. How do you not know this stuff?" It's amazing how you don't. You just look at the last names.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And people like cherry pick a fact about one of their players or teams that they know everything about. And they're just in shock that I just missaid it. You know, and it's hard. We're covering the entire league. We're talking live. We don't edit the show. Like I'm going to make mistakes. It happens.
People don't realize we just literally press record and let her rip. Other shows, they cut, they retape, they do third, fourth, fifth takes on things. We just go. It's like 40 minutes straight of no editing. It's nice for our editors. But we do get things wrong, so give us a break. And we have talked about just focusing on one team. But I just don't like Boston enough to focus on Boston. Because, Tim, you could do a Boston podcast all day long. You would love it.
Yeah, but I think I would get bored because there's so much other stuff that happens around the league, you know, and I'd want to talk about it.
I know.
But there's a flip side to it where, like, someone gets hurt in Winnipeg, and I have to have a take on it. And I don't really care, you know, but...
What's the least team in the NHL? When you look at all 32 teams, which one do you care about the least?
Winnipeg would be up there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Mine's Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus. Islanders, I don't care about them at all.
You know why? Columbus, for me, they had the most obnoxious cannon, and every time we would go in there, they would work us. That cannon would be going off, boom, boom, boom. It's so loud. It's annoying. But yeah, I guess Seattle too. Just out west, a new team. I don't know much about Seattle. So those teams are hard to follow. They're hard to keep up with. But yeah, if we say something like, you didn't know that this guy, he was the leading time on ice getter for the Seattle Kraken. You said Vince Dunn was, you idiots. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, my bad. Sorry. We're doing our best here. I got 8 kids for Pete's sake. Tim doesn't have any.
Just a sleeping dog over here.
You look great, though. Can I just say that? You look very nice.
Thanks.
What's your secret? What's your secret?
Yeah, don't do anything. It's funny. We were having a conversation the other day with Julie and her friends about the routine, the skincare and everything, that morning and night routines that girls have. And guys have like 1 bar of soap and they splash water on their face and just look perfect all the time.
Do you have a lotion?
No. I mean, I have stuff if my skin gets like super dry, but not like a daily routine, you know? And maybe the stuff you're putting on your face is making it worse, you know? Maybe there's a lot of truth and simplicity.
Well, there is truth to that. And that's been talked about lately, is all these young girls who get all these plastic surgeries and stuff, they look old. It's having the reverse effect on their looks. They want to try to look old, young and hip and this and that, but they're 25 to 30 and they look like they're 40. It's like, what are we doing here? My wife looks absolutely gorgeous. She's 41, 40. She doesn't use all that crap. Is she 41? She's 40, I think.
She's 40. You're 41.
Can you believe that I've never put lotion on my face ever?
I do believe that. But your skin looks great.
I look great. I did it when I had stitches. I'd cover it up a little bit. More so Vaseline for fighting. But it's funny. Derek Bugard would always tell me to put Vaseline on my face and put tough skin on my knuckles, to like make the punches more effective and to make your skin harder to cut. I never did it, but yeah, fighters do funny things to kind of get advantages, little advantages in fights to make them a little more effective. He would always have leather gloves because they would hurt more when you would punch with versus a cloth. So he's like, wear leather gloves, put tough skin on your knuckles, and put a little Vaseline on your face. That's how you do it. Rocky Thompson, we played against him. The guy's face was shining. You could see it from the nosebleeds. You could see the Vaseline dripping off of Rocky Thompson's face. You'd punch him, and you would just slip right off of him. Interesting stuff. You don't care.
That would be a fun book or blog post or article or something. Just like one question. What are the little things you did like that? That, like, I'm sure so many guys had something, you know?
Oh, yeah. Like, guys would have tie downs on the front of their jersey. Guys would cut the tie downs on their jersey if they wanted to rip their jersey off to get it off easier. Guys would have their sleeves super, super loose and their necks super loose. So when guys would go to grab, you would have nothing to grab onto. That's why you would try to grab the shoulder pads. It was amazing, all the little intricacies the fighters would do to gain an edge here or there. And I had no time for that. Looking back, I probably could have done more, but I just didn't want to because I was more focused on scoring goals.
You were also tall. Like, you had other advantages that you didn't need those tricks.
That's true.
All right, last question. I asked this on social media the other day too. What is, I don't know how many you've read, but what's the best hockey book that you've read?
Oof. That's a very, very good question. I was like really into all the biographies back in the day. I read a lot of them, but I'm going to say it was probably Phil Esposito had a book that I really enjoyed. I can't remember the title of it, but it was a really good biography on Tony Esposito where I think he helped write. It was just an interesting book. So that was, gosh, I don't know the name of it right now. Yeah, probably Tony Esposito's biography was really good. It talked about the Canada series, all that stuff, his time with Boston, moving on, and the Tampa Bay ownership and all that stuff. It was a good read. I should have said my book, right? But my book stinks. Don't get my book. Well, what is yours, Tim? What was yours?
I haven't read many. I read yours. I read Hosa's because he sent us a copy. Did you ever read that one? I don't think so. I read Bobby Orr's. I'll say that one. That was really good. Yeah, really, really good. But go see our Twitter. There's a great conversation. There's like 50 replies, and a lot of them are just great books. Like Tiger Williams, like a lot of like 80s and 90s guys that just had good stories, and it was good. Dennis
Marouk. I did some charity events with him the last few years. He's got a good book too. He scored 50 goals. Interesting character. I didn't read the book, but I heard it's good. Snuffing out my cigar, Tim. It was a good run. Look at that. I'm proud of myself.
Pretty good. I'm going to start drinking whiskey more often.
Should we do this again on Thursday?
I wanted so badly to be a whiskey guy, like in my 20s, and I just don't love it the way some people do. But I think it's really cool. I think drinking whiskeys makes you cooler if you're a whiskey person. I'm just not, unfortunately.
Now, I'll tell you that. You shouldn't do it to be cool. I think that's a poor decision. I do agree with you that I wasn't a whiskey drinker when I was younger, but I didn't
say that, but yeah.
I did drink Canadian Club growing up. It was a rye, but it was just more out of a necessity because it just got the job done quicker. And that's what I did. I don't promote that. I just heard an interesting quote the other day. Now we're getting long. We're like almost an hour. But I heard if you need beer for the party, then it's not a party. You're just an alcoholic or you have a problem. So just for what it's worth. But I do enjoy a whiskey now. It's funny how you age and you do appreciate things. And I enjoy a couple glasses of whiskey now. It's nice. In moderation, of course.
It would be nice to pick up that, just to drink that more, you know?
Well, let's do it again Thursday with Nick Foligno. We're doing another night episode. Nick's going to come on 8:30. I'll be here. Will you be here?
Let's have a glass before the show to make it real fun.
I agree. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us ramble on. We appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you guys on Thursday with Nick Foligno of the Chicago Blackhawks. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Dropping the Gloves with John Scott, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from to never miss an episode.